Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. I have a few political comments to make. They'll be in furtherance of what I've already said on some of these topics in the past. With Edwards dropping out of the Democratic race, and him being by far the most progressive of the three remaining candidates, that leaves us with a choice between huckster number 1 and huckster number 2, that being Obama and Clinton. And while Obama does like to chant on about change and change being necessary, which I'm entirely in agreement with, I don't really see much in his politics, in his programs, or his ideas that represents much of a change over the same thing that we've experienced in the last 20 or 30 years. I really don't. And I certainly don't see that in Clinton either. So I don't see where change is coming from on the Democratic side of things. So Edwards is gone. He was really the only candidate of the three that I could really support. But when you look on the Republican side and you see that McCain seems poised to be the likely Republican candidate, at least for now, and it seems that the next one to go will probably be Huckabee, and probably Romney will soon follow. There is some cause for hope, because McCain is a pretty rotten candidate. And because McCain is a pretty rotten candidate, if he ends up being the Republican nominee, then chances are one of huckster number 1 or huckster number 2 will end up getting the White House this year. But there is another possibility, another much better possibility. If Huckabee and Romney do end up dropping out of the race relatively soon, it could mean that McCain and Ron Paul are the only two candidates left. And how this is good is because this is where Ron Paul will shine. Because in a face-to-face against Ron Paul and John McCain, there's really no choice. Ron Paul will have his say. There will be no way for the media to exclude him. No way for him to be marginalized. It won't matter what polls say in the beginning. It'll certainly matter in the end, whenever in debate after debate, Ron Paul crushes John McCain on every issue. And in states, whenever the election continues down the road, if they're the only two candidates left, I predict something amazing for Ron Paul's campaign, and that is a genuine flowering. And like I said, whenever the constraints are removed, and whenever the networks and the media are forced to accept Ron Paul and forced to give him the time he deserves to speak, then people finally, and I say hopefully, will see him for what he is and what he represents. And that is true change. Because I have no doubts that if the race is boiled down to McCain and Ron Paul, there is no way that anybody could come away with anything but support for Ron Paul. And that is what I see as a hopeful sign on the Republican side. Don't really see any change coming on the Democratic side, and McCain certainly represents nothing but the same warmongering attitude that we have in the Republican administration that is in office right now. So hopefully Ron Paul will get his true moment in the sun down the road if in fact Huckabee drops out and Romney is soon to follow, and we're left with McCain as the front runner and Ron Paul standing right there beside him. So we do have hope yet, and that is where our hope lies, in my opinion. Thank you. Good night.